Welcome back to the channel Kings and Queens. Today we are going over how to calculate macros for women who want to lose weight. If you already have your TDE, that is ideal because I'm going to assume that you already do. If you have not seen that or don't know how to calculate that, video down below. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing or checking out one of my videos or going to my website krockfit.com/home. I help women lose weight and become their very best through online fitness. Let's get into the content. So first and foremost, what is a macronutrient? Well, there's a lot of different nutrients, but the three main ones, or the macronutrients, the large ones that we're worried about right now, are called protein, fat, and carbs. Your protein has 4 calories per gram. Your carbs also have 4 calories per gram, and your fats have 9 calories per gram. Those are the 3 building blocks of all that make us, and those are the 3 that we're worried about. There are other micronutrients that we get into further in nutrition, but for now, we're not going to worry about them. So let's actually get into the calculating of it. So let's calculate. Get out your calculator and let's do this. I actually like to do my macro writing on pen and paper, but don't be alarmed. I will put up all of it over here so you guys can follow along. So the first thing that we're going to do is get our TDE, our total daily energy expenditure. If you don't know what that is, I have a link down below explaining exactly what it is and how to calculate it. But for now, it's the overall how many calories that you need for the day. That is the base calories, and then that's how we break it down into our macronutrients because we already have our overall caloric goal. If you have followed and already seen the last video, I'm going to go ahead and use that same example of the 170 pound, 5'3", 22-year-old woman. So the first step that we're going to do is that we're going to plug in protein. We want to plug in protein first and foremost. So the protein we want to aim for right around 1 gram per pound of body weight, depending on how lean you actually are. The more fat that you have on your body, the less protein you actually need, but I like to stick right around that 1 gram per pound of body weight. It could also be 0.8 to all the way to 1.2. 1 gram of protein per goal body weight in addition to that. So whichever way you want to go about it, that's up to you. Again, this is a goal and a plan, and there's no right and wrong answer. Obviously, if you have any specific dietary needs and medical conditions, consult the correct professional for that. Not a YouTube video, but this is teaching the general guideline on it. So play around with your diet, but first and foremost, we're going to calculate the protein because that will give us the best chance at building muscle. So if you remember from the last video, the caloric deficit number that we came out to, the range for a caloric deficit, assuming a 500 calorie deficit, was 17 to 1900 calories for a 170 pound, 5'3" female with moderate activity who was 22. So we're going to go ahead and plug in right around 170 calories. Again, that can also fluctuate back and forth. You could go as low as 150, you could go even higher than that, but that's actually a lot. Go ahead and calculate for 170 and 150, just to kind of give a range of what you would like. So now we have our grams of protein. Next, we want to go ahead and get our carbs. So, as I was saying before, our carbs equal 4 calories per gram, right? So we're going to take our 1800 calorie goal and divide it by 2 because we want right around half of our caloric intake coming from carbs. These give us our energy. They give us fuel and they make us feel good. They are not the enemy. We want them high. Usually dietitians will say right around from 40% all the way up to 60%. So I just cut it at the middle, and then again, they can flex back and forth. We're going to take the 1800 divided by 2. Why? Because that's half of our calories. So that gives us 900 calories worth of carbs. Then we're going to divide by what? 4, right, because there are 4 calories per gram of carb. So we're going to take that 900 divided by 4. And that's going to give us an even 225 grams of carbs. Now, we already have 2 macronutrients plugged in. Now we have to get our third one in, which is our fats. So, we already have 2 plugged in. We already have 1 more left in. We know what our total is, what our goal is. So we're just going to add in the 2 that we already have plugged in, our proteins and our fats, subtract them from what our goal is, and that'll give us what our fat is. So we're going to take 1800 minus the 170 or the 150, whichever one you decided to go with. We're going to multiply each of those by 4. Obviously it's going to be 2 different equations, so you're just going to be doing it twice. But we're going to multiply by 4 because there are 4 calories per gram of protein. That's going to give us our calories so that we can get our calories for fat. We're going to do the same thing for our carbs. Again, we just figured out that it was 225 grams times 4. So calculating that out, it gives us 1800 minus 600 for the 150 grams of protein minus 1000 for the carbs, leaves us with right around 25 grams of fat. Because we're gonna, so calculating it out, it's going to be 1800, which is our total, minus the 600 for our 150 grams of protein, minus our 1000 calories for carbs, gives us an even 200 calories to play around with for our fats, divided by 9 because there are 9 calories per gram of fat, gives us right around 25 grams of fats. That is really low. So you know how I said there was a range that we could play around with. This is actually where that flexing and back and forth goes and plays into it. So we already know we want 150 grams of protein. We know that because we already have to flex back into it. So we're going to go ahead and take the lower protein so that we can ensure that we have enough fat for daily life. We already have a lot of protein, so we can flex that back, and then we can also flex the carbs back to get more fat into our diet. So we're going to take the 225 and we'll say that, call it at an even 200 just to see what that number does. So we want carbs at 200, and then we'll see what that's going to do. We're going to multiply it back out, do the same equation. The 150 times 4, 200 times 4, and that gives us 1400. So that gives us 400 divided by 9 to play with. That gives us 45 grams of fat. That seems a lot better actually. Again, you can play around with that, but I'm happy with the 45 grams of fat because I will tell you why. 45 times 9, that gives us 405 grams from fat. We're going to divide that by 1800, and that gives us 22%. Usually I like to have my fat right around 20 to 25%, so we're in the ballpark, and that's why I like to stay at it. Again, it's an example, and you guys can play around with it to see what you like. Again, as a disclaimer, I am not a nutritional professional. I am a trainer. I'm allowed to give guidance, teach people about it, but I can't give you a meal plan yet. I'm working on my certification, and when that time comes, again, follow me on krockfit.com/home if you want to keep in touch about that. But when that time comes, I'll be able to help you guys in that capacity as well. So far, I help people lose weight and gain muscle. This is my specialty. So that's going to give us protein at 150 grams, our carbs at 200 grams, and our fat at 22.5 grams. Now, the golden rule that I like to do is for protein, we're going to do plus or minus 10. For carbs, we're going to do plus or minus 10. For fat, we're going to do plus or minus 5. Those are the goals that we want to hit every single day within those allowances of plus or minus 10, plus or minus 5 for your macros. That's what's going to keep us getting in the same range and play around with it. Because you could hit 160 grams of protein 3 days in a row and then hit 140 grams of protein, and that'll still be within your 150 gram goal, if that makes sense. But now we're going to go on how to track everything in the next clip. See you there. Now that we've calculated all the macros that we need, what do we do with them? Well, you're going to put them into some sort of food tracking or food journal. There are a lot of different apps for them, but I personally like MyFitnessPal. They're super intuitive, and the barcode scanner is amazing. Like, I can literally just scan whatever I'm using and whatever portions I'm using it, and it plugs it all right in for me, that I can even click on one of the tabs in there and see all the breakdowns, and I can see everything. I love it. It's super intuitive and super easy to use. But the goal is to find one that you like and that you're willing to use daily. To get the portions, that's a little bit different of an issue. There are a couple of different tools that you can use. Again, it just depends on personal preference. But I highly recommend a scale, a food scale. That's going to give you the most accurate idea of what you're actually going to be using. That because a measuring cup, although it's going to be useful and going to give you a better idea than what you were using before, it's not going to be as accurate as a food scale, which has the exact weight of whatever you're using. That being said, you don't need a food scale or measuring cups to track. You can even use your hand. There are plenty of infographics on Google, so I'm not going to get into all that breakdown, but just know that's available. Now, be sure to use other tools and other techniques other than the food scale and the measuring cups in your hand for portioning it out, because it's all just a tool that helps you plan it out, but plans only go so well. They actually have to monitor your plan. I highly recommend using a scale to weigh in and making sure that you're actually going down on a consistent basis. Weight loss is not linear, but it'll give you a general idea of what you're using. So make sure you're weighing in right around once a week. That I wouldn't say any more than that, just because that gives a lot of people anxiety that there's general fluctuations in their weight. Your weight can fluctuate by as much as 10 pounds even, depending on several factors. But know that it will come off in a slow system because you didn't put it on in a week. It won't come off in a week. So take it slow and learn the journey of it. I hope you get to where you're going. Be sure to check out my video on how to know if you're actually losing fat instead of just water weight. Check it out, and I'll see you guys there.